And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. What's up, everybody? I'm back in the studios. I'm home. Yet, I feel like I left part of home. We're going to talk about a lot of things this week here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. As you can see inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, it is Italy week. What does that mean for you? It means that I will be sharing with you my trip to Italy with my father all week long. And every guest that we've scheduled thus far. Now, we're going to do our Binghamton show, and we're also, actually, if we have the person on from Binghamton that we're hoping to have, then this will continue it. But we're going to have Binghamton, we're going to have Lemoyne on, and as we always do. But Italy Week will not only feature awesome guests, it will feature fellow card-carrying Italians all throughout Italy Week. So while I talk about my broadcast from Italy, as well as my experience in Italy, I will also be sharing it with Italians. And so today, Brendan Murphy has some Italian blood for DT and Murphy. Tomorrow, longtime coach and just wonderful basketball mind, Gina Castelli, will be joining the show. And then T. Morabito is going to be joining me, a longtime coach in the high school football world who has been to Italy numerous times. He'll be on the show on Wednesday. Papa Joe, of course, in my family, will be on the show on Thursday. And the longtime assistant coach in the NFL and college football world, Bob Casulo, will join me on Friday. So not only is it Italy Week, where I will sprinkle in my experience in Italy all throughout the week, but I will also be doing this with fellow Italians on the show. So I can't wait to bring this to you in a very unique way on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We're inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City, coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. It's one of the places that I went by when I got home yesterday, and there's a lot of cars off the lot, so you better be getting over there soon to Great Lakes Honda City, because they've been selling those vehicles new and used. So make sure you check them out this week. Let them know that DT sent you. You could find out their inventory by going to greatlakeshondacity.com. And of course, we are so happy to be here with you. I found out that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, because it's 6 hours ahead in Italy, we broadcast on your midday drive. So we are in Italy live every Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. So right before you have your dinner in Italy. So shout out to everybody in Italy that has been watching, been connecting with the show. Much love, much appreciation. You've done it before I even got to Italy, which I think is insane. So thank you for the love and support. Shout out to Italy, to the other side of the world, and shout out to being here back home in central and upstate New York. And shout out to my dog, who is here as well, Miss Lillian, who has found her way back into the studio. But happy to have Lily home. I missed her very much. There's so many dogs in Italy, by the way, so I know that next time I go, I can actually bring the goose. But happy to be here with you, and happy to be hanging out on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for what I am calling Italy Week. And we have Murph picture in picture here. As I said, we're going to speak on my trip to Italy. I'm going to let Murph kind of take that where he wants to take it, and he'll ask me some questions, and I'll give you some thoughts here. And, of course, we'll talk about topics inside of the sports world. So shout out to the NHL playoffs, to the NBA playoffs, to everything that's going on. I did get to see the WNBA preseason, and Caitlin Clark went back to Iowa and played with the Indiana Fever on her old home court against Brazil as they're doing this preseason international play. I think they were up 91-26 when I was watching the game, so that was pretty insane. And she got to have some fun. Always good to see Caitlin Clark. So much love, much appreciation. Where sports meets life. Wake Up Call, Italy Week officially starts right now. Murph, how we doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. I am more curious to know how you're doing. How are you adjusting to the time zone once again?
Well, I have been up for 24 hours, and I did go to sleep. I went to sleep for a little while. I did get some sleep in. So, but I think I slept for 4 hours last night, maybe, something like that. But yeah, so I was up for 24 hours because my dad and I got up at 7:30, a little bit after 8. I think I got up a little bit after 8. He got up at 7:30, and then we didn't get in until the equivalent of what would have been 7 a.m. And then I didn't go to bed until like 9, after 9 Italy time. So I was up for 24 hours yesterday. And what I did was my phone switched to Italy time. My watch I kept the same. So every day I would look at both and I would say, okay, it's 9:20 a.m. here, it's 3:20 back at home. And so I kind of just like kept them both on my mind the whole trip. And I'm hoping that maybe that helped me out, is that like I never lost track of what time it was back at home. But yeah, I mean it's definitely going to be an adjustment because like I want to get up and like do things. I ate so well when I was in Italy, and my stomach is feeling a lot better, and my stomach was making me a little nervous before I left for Italy. So because I've been like feeling so much better, my body's been good. I definitely am on this. Let's make sure that I'm eating a Mediterranean diet and that I'm taking care, because I was literally having a Mediterranean diet. So now I'm kind of in the place of let's make sure that I take care of that, that I do that, and that I'm putting myself in a good situation as we step forward. So it's definitely an adjustment, and I'm so happy to be able to say that I got to do this with my dad. And I mean, we made this promise to each other at least 10 years ago. It was probably like 11 years ago that we made this promise. I'm thinking it's 2025. 11 years ago would have been 2014. So, yeah, I mean, we made this promise to each other at least 11 years ago. And the fact that we got to carry this out and actually do it and fulfill this means the world to me. And it's really emotional. It's been very emotional for me. And just there's so much to talk about. There's literally so much. And that's why I said, you could kind of lead the way and ask me what you want to ask me. But the food, the people, the just experience of heritage and family and just absolutely insane things that God does how he always does. I can't begin to describe to you what this trip turned out to be and how it is always, and I got to thank God for this. Whatever I want my life to be, he's always made it exponentially better. So I have no words that can adequately describe how thankful I am. I could just say that I'm super thankful and pleased, and man, it was a trip that absolutely will change the trajectory of my life, not in a bad way.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. So, one of the things I want to start you with, um, remembering what it was like for me when I first got off the plane in Dublin. What was that first, you know, when you got off the plane
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm actually in Italy? Like, what was that first reaction like?
Yeah. I mean, I think looking back at it, the flight I want to say was 7.5 hours from New York
Once you got to
City.
JFK, right?
Yeah,
Because you
from
did.
do we go
Because
Philly?
what did you
Yeah.
do? You started in Syracuse, took the flight to JFK, and then went to
Yeah.
Italy, and then same thing on the way back.
No, we came back a different way, but yeah. So the way down, I would say, being on that flight. Well, first and foremost, see, I'm a perfume guy. Like I'm a perfume guy. I'm one of those guys that if you have the right perfume on, my legs will be lifted up and I'll like float toward that. And there was some type of perfume that one of the flight attendants had on, and they were really nice, super nice people. And we just had a great time. There was a guy in front of me that was trying to basically go to Italy in my lap, and so the flight attendants were nice. I tried to make him think his seat was broken, that every time he pushed back on it, I pushed with my arm. And for those that don't know, I consider myself to have a very strong upper body. So I made him believe that the chair was broken. And but for where my dad and I were sitting, it really wasn't convenient to move back at all. And so, I mean, I think people should kind of just, kind of think of each other in that situation, but they don't always do that. But yeah, no, I mean, my first thing, so getting off the plane and getting to Roma. So when we got there, I'm trying to think of my exact moment getting off the plane. So,
Now, what about, all right, before you get to that, what
yeah.
about the landing? Because I know, at least for me, when I landed in Dublin, it was just, it was so cloudy and it was like something I've never seen before,
Yeah.
and that was like really really cool. So like before you get off the plane, like how about like when you first like when the plane's coming into land,
Yeah.
like when you're seeing the the Italian and the Roman countryside.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was like smooth. It was really smooth. We came in really nice, and I remember looking out the window and saying to my dad, like, it kind of looks like upstate New York. Like it kind of just, is nature and grass, and it just kind of seemed normal. Like it didn't seem like you were in another country. I do remember that. And then yeah, and then when we got off the plane and were, physically in Rome, that was definitely an experience because I remember we had to go through, it's not like a customs, it's called like passport. It's a passport thing where you like go through and you like,
Passport control,
yeah,
yeah.
and you digitally
Hmm.
like do your passport thing, and then you get through, and then they look at it, and then you go through there, and then as you're coming out, trying to figure out getting a taxi and all that. So they do have Uber, but we took taxis everywhere. And yeah, I think for me, when we first got to Rome and you get in the taxi cab and you're just looking outside, it's it's crazy. And the first thing that I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, are the trees. There's these like awesome, I want one so bad. There's this they're these trees. They look like these trees from like the Lion King. And so they're not like thick and they go straight up, and then they got like a few branches that come out that are big, and then it's like a flat top. And they put them in these rows where it almost looks like you can bounce from one to the other like they're in a line. And I remember coming in and just looking up at the trees. I had the window down, and I was just saying to my dad, I was like, those trees are so cool. And we were coming through this area, and then literally one of the first things that I saw was a bus ad. And for those of you that know me and know Super Powered Popper Entertainment Show, I'm a big Marvel fan. And they had a bus ad in Italian for the Thunderbolts. And I took a picture, and I was like, that's so cool. And so I had to fight myself. I was like, don't go to see Thunderbolts when you're in Italy, Dan. Stop. You'll go and you go home. I'm actually going today. So, because I can't be patient about it in any stretch of the imagination. And the fact that it started on Thursday and it's Monday, and people are already trying to ruin the movie on like Wednesday. So I haven't seen anything other than I saw Sentry, what he looks like. But I saw that ad, and then I saw the trees. And I remember just like looking around when we came in, because when you first come in, it's just like these crazy streets. And it's just like fast streets, but it doesn't look like anything specific. And then as you start to come into Rome, it's just the streets get thinner and the road gets more bumpy, and you have like it
Hmm.
literally looks like you're driving down sidewalk. And I will say
Yeah,
this,
literally, right?
to 007 movies and to Mission Impossible movies, yes, the streets are that small, the cars are that little, it is that crazy, you can hit people everywhere you drive. So like I said that to my dad, I feel like I'm in a 007 movie. But yeah, so the first experience was probably the trees, the Thunderbolts billboard or bus sign in Italian, and then definitely the streets of Italy, because we went through like these high octane roads that are just like crazy busy. And then all of a sudden, where we stayed, we were like in this nook of Rome. And it was such a beautiful, like historic. We literally stayed by a monument. Like we stayed right essentially around the corner from one of their like jewels, which is the Spanish Steps. And and so to be able to do that, to be Spanish and Italian, and to be in Italy for the first time and be right by the Spanish Steps. I still remember the first dinner. I remember looking at my dad. I remember talking to my dad, saying like, "Oh my gosh, we're in Italy. Can you believe it?"
Hmm.
So, yeah, I remember vivid. And as you ask me, I'm sure a lot of things are going to become more clear. But yeah, the trees, I think, are the first thing I saw.
Yeah, that's I I can understand that. I were the roads as narrow as they were in Dublin, like ridiculously tight where the cars are like almost on top of each other.
So you could get like one car down at a time, and the way that they did this thing was that they essentially, when you're trying to get these cars down the street, you and I told people this. I said, like, if you came out of our hotel and you got in a taxi and you started to drive down the road, there's restaurants all along the street. I said, when we stopped, I could literally put my window down and reach onto someone's table and take a slice of pizza and put it in the car. Like, that's how
Oh my
close you
God.
were. And so my dad and I were like, let's not sit on the outside. Let's not put ourselves in a situation where, we can get hit while we're eating. But it definitely was such a unique experience in that sense that I mean, you were literally like the cars, and there were so many bikes. Oh my gosh, there were so many like motorcycle esque type vehicles, like not a true motorcycle, but like a motorized bike. Where, if you remember Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man when he's delivering pizzas, like that bike was everywhere, and people parked wherever they possibly could. But yeah, I mean that the roads were so tiny that when a car was coming, you had to be cognizant of it. And I cannot tell you,
Mm-hmm.
there was one time in Rome where we were driving through the streets, and it was toward the Spanish Steps. And I kid you not, the amount of people and where they were coming from, and like just the sea of them, it looked like our car had driven into a shopping mall. Like, it was crazy.
Oh my God. Yeah, like I remember in Dublin and Amsterdam how narrow those roads were, and you're looking at the cab driver, you're just like, how can you even navigate this? It was truly bizarre.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but you were in, you got to go see the Vatican
Yeah.
right around the time of Pope Francis's funeral. I want to know a little bit about that, like how that experience was, and did you get to go visit and you know pay respect to him laying in state?
Yeah. So we did get to go to the area. And here's again, when I tell people all the time, like, God is great, and God is always on time, and God is always smarter than me, and his plans are better than mine. I say all of that because obviously when we made our trip to Italy, we did not make it knowing that the Pope was going to pass. And when he passed, there was this thought of, are we going to be able to still do the tours? So we got there, we left on Wednesday, we got there Thursday morning, Italy time, and over a week ago. And it'll be 2 weeks this Thursday that we got there. So we get there and we made it for Friday. Well, the Pope had been laid to rest at St. Peter's Basilica, had been laid out. And so we didn't know. And I kept telling my dad, I'm like, well, they're not canceling anything. They're giving us the information. Like, we should be good to go. I hope we're good to go. I'm praying to God, we're good to go. So Friday morning, we get up and we meet our tour, and they bring us to, we walk through and we go to what is essentially a fortress. Vatican City, when you see it on television, you think it is this wide open air, like there's Rome, and then all of a sudden you walk into the Vatican, there's a wide open square, and the Pope's there, and there's millions of people. It is a fortress. It is literally like a battle state protected area. It is its city within a city. It's this place that is just surrounded by walls. And so when you're going in, and thank goodness we got the Skip the Line tours. Shout out to my other mom, Mary T, who gave us all that info because we didn't have to wait for anything. So we get in, and then it's like a bus kind of like train terminal. And once you get into the fortress, you're in this like terminal state. And in this terminal thing, it looks new. And then you go up and you're going up these stairs. And then all of a sudden you walk outside and you're in the Vatican. And it is just quiet, pristine. The pictures, the grass is like it's never been touched by human beings. Everything looks clean. it essentially, as you're walking through and you're going through like the Sistine Chapel and stuff, and you look outside, it looks like paradise. It looks like the Pope is walking in this like God's land. It looks like God put these flowers here, these trees here, this everything here, and like I don't know how to describe it other than the fact that my eyes saw it and my eyes were like, this is normal beauty in nature, and this is like God put his hand on it and was like, let this be pure. And that's what it looked like. I mean, it looked so good, it looked like a picture. And so we're walking, and she's telling us about the Sistine Chapel and whatnot. So we're walking through the Vatican, and then we go in and we start seeing all this art. And eventually we end up at the Sistine Chapel. We were supposed to go to St. Peter's Basilica. That didn't happen because the Pope was laid in state. And because of that, they didn't let people in. I'm sure that
Totally understandable.
There might be people trying to take a picture and da da da. But, you know, which would be awful and sacrilegious, and let's not do that. So we didn't get to do St. Peter's Basilica, but we did the Vatican and we did the Sistine Chapel. And the Sistine Chapel, again, this is our, like after my dad and I got there on Thursday and just relaxed, I had a great time. When you talk about the first day of events that we did, the Sistine Chapel, we walk into it. Now, you could take pictures all throughout the whole area, but once you get into the Sistine Chapel, you cannot do anything. No pictures, no video, nothing. You walk in and you're just standing in a room and you're just looking around. Everything is like literally up the walls, above you and around you, and it's everywhere. So we studied it with our tour guide, who was amazing and reminded me of my cousin Isabel. Shout out to her and God bless to her and Aunt Is. I hope you're always doing well and you're healing up in God's good grace and his love and his will, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Love you, Aunt Isabel. Amen. So she reminded me of my Aunt Isabel, my dad too. We get in. Once we got to the Sistine Chapel and we went through the whole tour with her, she's like, I'm going to let you be. Y'all can stay here, do what you got to do, but I'm going to let you be. So we didn't have to follow her. I walk into the chapel. And again, those of you that know me know that God and I have a very close bond, and he comes to me daily in different ways. And I would suggest to people that you pay attention to things that are important to you and see that God always speaks to you in a language that you can understand if you pay attention. I walk into the chapel. I'm looking forward. I'm looking at my dad. I get to the middle of the room. I stop. I've not looked at the ceiling. I turn around. I look straight up. I am standing directly below St. Daniel when I looked up.
Oh, God, that is if people don't believe, I don't know what to tell you. There are certain things that happen in this world that make you think, if people don't believe, if people don't believe in God, like I don't know what to tell you. Like, that is proof right there.
And so you look up and you see that, and right where Daniel is, there's like this young looking child that you're like, okay, is that like Daniel as a kid? And then there's this giant Saint Daniel, and then there's like a child with him. And then if you go this way, because he's on the wall, if you go like this, then you see those pictures that everybody knows where God is creating man. And you see, and it's crazy because if you look through the time, it's telling a story. And if you look through it, you see God is like coming through these portals, and you see these like angels around him, and you're wondering, like, are these the archangels? And they're kind of, and there's like these pools where it's almost like manifesting things, creating them, and then taking them and like it's almost like God's going into this pool, creating something, and then taking it and putting it on a canvas. And it's just amazing. I mean, Michelangelo, beyond. And you learn all these stories about him. So one of the things you learn about Michelangelo, and Murph will appreciate this, and the people that have watched and listened to my show for years will appreciate this. You know that I don't like bullies.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand up for myself. I stand up for other people. Well, Michelangelo did not want to paint the Sistine Chapel. He didn't want to do any of this stuff. When he did it, apparently there were people along the way that gave him not the easiest of times. So when you first walk into the Sistine Chapel, if you come in the door and you like turn right around and you look straight at that wall, that's the wall of the Last Judgment, where Jesus is deciding like who's going to heaven, who's going to hell. And in the bottom right corner, there is this person. I think it's Milos. Milos or Minos? Is it Minos? No, I think it's Milos. And so Milos is there, and he is being he's this demon thing. He's got a snake around him, and he's turned and looking. He just looks ugly and gross. He drew a person that was like giving him trouble and not being nice to him. He drew that person as the keeper of hell. And then the person found out, and they went to the Pope and said, you need to have him change this. And the Pope was like, I don't have any jurisdiction with it. Like, so they left. So literally Michelangelo, in his art that has been seen by the world, he has pieces of his art.
500 years, 400, 500 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, he's literally had pieces of his art where he is taking shots back at people that, like, not taking shots back, but like people that disrespected him. He literally put them in his work. It was almost like, if you're going to give me trouble and I'm like, if I'm going to do all of this work and I'm going to build this thing and create this thing for you, I'm going to let you know that I know who you are and I see you, and I'm not going to go out into the square and be ridiculous. I'm just going to let you know that I don't accept this behavior. I don't like this. So to see that Michelangelo, my favorite Ninja Turtle, by the way, but to see that Michelangelo, the painter, would create such beautiful art of heaven and hell and Jesus and God and everything, and that him and I would have a similarity of saying, we'll find our way of letting you know that bad guys don't get off the hook that easy. Like, he literally put it in the painting. And I mean, the stuff that we learned about the paintings were just incredible. And everything on the way in was so beautiful. There was these giant like rugs that had art on it of Jesus coming out of the tomb. Like, I can't even begin. I mean, I put it up on our social media. If you want to chronicle my trip from beginning to the end of the trip, you can go to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. You can search Dan Tortora on Facebook in my personal page. I'm taking you through all this. We're going through the Vatican together, and the artwork by anyone and everyone was just beyond. And then there was literally pieces of apostles' clothing that was there. Like, you walk out of the Sistine Chapel, and I think it was St. Peter and St. John's robes are there. Like,
how the hell have those survived 2,000 years?
So, like, yeah, I mean, you see, like, it's everything about it. And the stuff that you know about the Sistine Chapel, you think to yourself, like, this is the stuff that people are paying attention to. And it's like, no, there's all this stuff on the way in. There's all of these different elements of artwork. And you just find yourself, like, we were in these long hallways that just went on forever. And you think the Sistine Chapel, like, oh, everybody knows, like, oh, it's on the ceiling. There's so much artwork on the ceiling. There's so many beautiful pieces about Jesus, about God, about just faith and courage and belief and life and hope and justice and goodness and fairness and love. And that was the first day. And I just remember, like, it didn't even matter we didn't get to go to St. Peter's Basilica, but then they told us after we left, our hotel told us, they said, just so you know, if you didn't go today, you wouldn't have been able to go. And so we're like, oh, like, what do you mean?
Yeah, because you did that on Friday. The funeral was on Saturday.
Right. And what they did was they closed the Vatican for the conclave. So they literally said, like, you went on Friday, and then they were closing the entire Vatican. So it wasn't going to be like, you can't go to St. Peter's Basilica. You can't go anywhere. You can't go to the Sistine Chapel. Like, from what we understood, they were shutting the doors, locking the doors to the Vatican for the conclave to choose a new pope. So if we didn't go when we did, everything is closed. And to know that, like, we were like, do we go Friday? Do we go Saturday? And then God just led us to Friday. If we didn't go at the time that we went, we would have missed out on everything. And so that was really beautiful to get to do that, and just to have moments there, just to have moments in quiet and in prayer and in goodness. But there's, dude, like that, people know the Sistine in the Vatican. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
things. There's so many things. And I can't even begin to describe what the Vatican looked like, because it was just God's artwork outside, God's hand in humans' artwork inside. I mean, that's what it was.
Oh, I believe it for sure. I mean, I've always wanted to go there, and at some point in my life, I feel like I probably will. But just to kind of hear the experience from you who went firsthand is got to be pretty cool. But I I gotta know about the food. Like that's
Yeah.
obviously the elephant in the room. Like I gotta know about the food.
Yeah, the food.
Helped your stomach, by the way, which seems
Yeah.
very interesting. Means
Yeah.
you got to start eating a Mediterranean
Yeah.
diet.
Well, and so before I left, my doctor told me, he said, I want you on a Mediterranean diet. Like that's where I want your focus to be. And he's like, fish, chicken, rice, I want you to be on this
Mm.
Mediterranean diet. Well, then, you go to Italy, it's literally Mediterranean food. You're literally on a Mediterranean
You're on the
diet.
Mediterranean Sea anyway, so yeah.
And yeah. And a good morning to Jerry, which is buongiorno. And to Thomas, we were talking yesterday about his Cowboys. So good morning to you, sir. And to everybody that's watching and listening up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the world, including in beautiful, wonderful, sunny Italy. So the food, day one, I had ahi tuna, and I realized in day one that they love pistachio. And so I had pistachio cream on the ahi tuna. That was really good. And I had this like seafood starter thing, the mussels, the clams, the shrimp, all of it fantastic, just bellissimo and incredible. And so that was day one. That was first experience, first dinner. And then we got gelato, and I got pistachio gelato and cookie gelato mixed together. That was super good. The wafer that they put in it was awesome too. Gelato everywhere. By the way, in Italy, people eat gelato at 9 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter. Like ice cream for breakfast is totally okay in Italy. They're open all day long. And so,
I
yeah.
believe it.
Yeah. So the first night was great. The best pizza that I have had in my entire life, everything, without doubt, is Social Pizza in Napoli, Italy. Napoli is what they call it. So in Napoli, Social Pizza, I liked the margarita pizza so much, I got it 3 days in a row. Like,
Wow.
I cannot begin to describe to you how good it is. And I was talking to Murph about this off the air. When we went to literal paradise, when I walked into a screensaver and went to the Isle of Capri from Napoli, first thing I did when I got off the boat, first thing Pops and I did, sat and got some food. He was hungry, so we got some eats. I got on special because I cannot help myself.
Oh,
And it's
God.
not the first time that I've had this, but it's the first time I've had it on pizza, octopus pizza. And let me tell you,
Oh my goodness.
let me tell you, to the few people that will trust themselves to try it, especially from America, octopus pizza. I told my dad, I go, can I get some octopus when I get back to Syracuse? He's like, yeah, you can buy octopus. I said, all right, cool. Because I know I could buy squid. But like octopus on the pizza, the meatiness, the look of it, and then the cheese. Because the pizza that I got wasn't like sauce. It was just like this cheese. But it was a certain type of cheese. Brought me back to my childhood. Smelled a certain way. Had them little brown bubbles. And then you put the octopus on top. Let me tell you something. That octopus pizza and the margarita pizza from Napoli, I will fight a human in the Coliseum for that pizza. And like I'll fight a bear in the Coliseum. But so I will tell you, the food so good, and the longer I was there, the healthier my stomach got. And here's the crazy thing. So Dad and I get to the airport and we're in Atlanta, and we're in the Atlanta airport yesterday coming home, and we had a layover for like a million years, and thankfully we got home by the grace of God. The first time I ate American food, and I didn't get anything crazy. I got like shrimp tacos. The first time I ate American food, my stomach started to twist like it was hurting before I left. And I was like, so I'm going to need to like cook at home a lot. But yeah, so I mean, the food, the longer I was there, the healthier I got, the better I felt. Dude, I'm in the best shape of my life because I started walking again. My body.
Walking over, I mean, that's the only thing you could really do, especially if you're
Yeah.
like you stayed kind of in the middle of Rome when you were there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were close to most things,
So you
and
probably walked a lot.
oh, we walked a ton. My
That's
dad,
what I mean, that's what we did over there. We were probably doing 15,000 steps a day.
yeah.
Easily.
So yeah, I had my dad walking like at least 6 miles a day, and so literally, no joke, my muscle in my legs and in my arms, my tone in my torso, the tightness of my stomach and like my chest. I am in the best shape of my life, and it was Italian food and walking and getting away from stress and drama. It was literally like setting myself straight, focusing on God, getting healthy in my mind, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy mind, healthy body. I say that to people all the time. I'm literally in the best shape of my life, and I promise God, like, and myself, I am only going to get better from here. Like, looking at my body down there, I ate what I wanted to eat. I walked where I wanted to walk, but I was peaceful and I was calm for the most part. And I got myself to a place of bliss. And there's a lot to come from that story as well. And dude, I am genuinely in the best shape of my life right now. So I didn't just go to Italy and have a good time. Like, I was in the best shape of my life a couple of years ago. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. And I was just like, that was a huge thing coming out of Italy. Was like, not only did I have a trip that was refreshing and spiritually and emotionally and mentally and socially and just everything good, but I left Italy as a really good version of myself. And that version is only going to evolve from here. So I could tell you that that's probably the biggest get from Italy, is the fact that like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I'm on another level right now, for sure, like beyond.
So that means you got to move to Italy then.
I told
No,
my
I
dad, I
mean,
said, I'm
no,
staying.
like with, I mean, realistically, with what you said about your stomach specifically, like you went over there, ate a Mediterranean diet for 8 or 9 days, or however long you guys were actually. I think you said it was like 9 days or 10 days.
Yeah, it was
But
it was like we were there for 11 if you include travel, but I think it was like 10 days.
okay, so like you're there for 10 days, you eat all this great Italian food and Mediterranean food and everything,
Yeah.
and you feel amazing. You come home, you have one American meal, and you're just like the stomach's just a mess. All right, we're moving to Italy so that my stomach doesn't become a mess. Eat some real authentic Italian food.
Well, and I will say this. I will say this. So we're coming back from Capri, from the Isle of Capri, and we're going back to Napoli. And we're on the boat. Right before we get off the boat, the news says Italy is in 29th place of countries in the world for like media freedom. And I looked at my dad and I was like, well, I did broadcast live from there. You know, I mean, like I did do that. So, and we can get into those in a little bit, but no, I mean, dude, like seriously, my body is different. I was talking to my big brother Joey because his birthday was May 3rd. Happy birthday again, Joe. Love you, and I'll see you soon. So I FaceTimed Joey yesterday when I was in the Atlanta airport. Him and his lady, Miss Diana. Shout out to Diana as well, and God bless to you and the kids and to the cats and everybody in your lagoon. So we were talking, and Joey looked at me and he goes, "You look at peace, bro." He was like, "God bless you." He's like, you look like you're at peace." But I told my dad plenty of times, I said, I ain't going nowhere. And I was like, I love, there's a Syracuse in Italy, man. People don't, there's a Syracuse. I mean, like, there's a Syracuse there. It's fine. We've already had
You
people
can move there.
We've already had people watching and listening from Italy, going to our website from Italy over the years. But I mean, to go to Italy and walk in the street and to say, Italy, I want to thank you for tuning into the show, and now I've decided to come to you. Like, that was nuts. I did a broadcast from the balcony of my hotel in Roma. And to say this is Wake Up Call.
Did you do one from the beach too?
Yeah, I did a live broadcast from Rome. I did a live broadcast from the Isle of Capri. And then I did recorded broadcasts from that went up as new. I did multiple recorded broadcasts from Tortora, Italy, which there is Tortora. And so Tortora, Italy, literally there is one. We have our own beach.
Did you go there?
We have it. Yes, we have our own beach. We have mountains. We have a marina. We have a church. It's insane. I had the best seafood I've had in my entire life in Tortora, Italy. And I brought back pieces of Tortora, by the way. Brought back rocks that are insanely, like, the design of them is crazy. Some of them look like Venom. Some of them look like the Jaguars. Like, the colors of them, the text, everything. So I took home, like, a ton. I was like, what am I going to take back from Tortora? I said, I'm going to take back literal pieces of it. And because there was, like...
There you go.
Because the sand is dark from, like, the lava and volcanoes that had erupted over time, I think that's why their rocks are just, like, painted. Just incredible designs and colors and stuff. Black and white and green and red and brown. And just, it's crazy. So I brought home a bunch of rocks. And we also, obviously, we were in Napoli. And then we went to my family's home where my dad's family literally grew up. We went to Maddaloni, and that's where I climbed my first ever mountain. And we will talk about that moment and the promises that I made. We'll talk about that
right after this.
Right after. Oh, we're going to Seacrest this thing out. We will talk about all of that right after this. That's my Seacrest. There we go. Here's a message from Renee from Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business. I had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees. And as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and be able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 07, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machines, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machines. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. In a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in their community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We are here with you, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great Lakes Honda City, Monday through Saturday. Open for sales and service. Get out and see them today. Let them know that DT sent you. Say, I want a new ride. Dan told me to come over here. Told me there was good stuff. There is. Promise you. There's really good stuff over there. I've been getting cars from Great Lakes Honda City, formerly Honda City of Liverpool, for over 10 years now. And I love my 2025 CRV. I have not driven a vehicle in almost 2 weeks. I will do that for the first time after the show today. Excited. Looking forward to it. Well, this morning.
At least they drove on the wrong side of the road over there.
Yeah.
Actually, no, wait.
They drove on
I
the
think
right side.
they're on the right side of the road, aren't they?
Yeah, they drive on the same side.
It's the UK and Australia that's the other side of the road.
Yeah, my grandfather, Tommy Cavino, my grandpa on my mom's side, when they drove in England, my mom told me that he drove American way, so they were going like around a mountain, and he was on the other side. He was on our right side of the road, their wrong side of the road. So that she did tell me that. What did Jerry say? You haven't mentioned the Phillies taking 2 out of 3 from your D-backs. Hey man, let me say something to you, Jerry. Let me just say something to you right now. Number one, we beat the Mets and the Phillies within the last week. So we did some good things in both of those worlds. But yeah, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda Studios. Get yourself over there right now.
Yeah.
That's right. Find your next ride today. And
hey, we're gonna get it back when we play 3 games starting tonight out in Arizona.
Happy to have you.
How about a 3-game sweep to make it a 4-3 advantage?
No, I think. Well, I mean, sure, for us, we'll flip it over. But yeah. So back to Italy. Where do you want to go first, Murph? So I went to Rome, then I went to Naples.
I want to know, did you have any regular, just a plain pie from over there? Or did you have the special every time you got special something every time you got pizza?
Oh no, I mean I got the margarita a lot, which is like their base, and so I got I'm trying to think. I got the margarita a ton. I got the octopus at one time. I got when I was in Tortora, Italy, I got 2 interesting slices. They were the only square ones that I had. I got a square slice that had pumpkin, but you couldn't really taste it. That was more in the
sauce.
But yeah, so yeah, the pumpkin, and I got a potato one where there's no red sauce. It was almost like a potato chip, but it was soft, and that was put on it, and then they put some fresh cheese on that. That was good. That guy was one of the nicest people.
Interesting.
It was called Peas Stop, and that gentleman that worked there, probably one of the nicest people that I met in Italy. But yeah, so Totora, they had some really good. The pizza was good. Yeah, different types of pizza. A lot of margarita though,
I
and
mean, margarita pizza's fine. I mean,
yeah,
I'm assuming they use like the fresh mozzarella and everything, right?
yeah. So you use like the fresh, and there's buffalo mozzarella, which when people don't know what that means, it's not
Buffalo
buffalo.
mozzarella?
It's not buffalo sauce. It's just giant mozzarella. It's like mozzarella, but more. It's big. So they call it. There's like
Okay.
there's mozzarella and there's buffalo mozzarella, which is like a big heap of it. So yeah. So
Well, that's
the
interesting.
the
What
mar-
about pasta? How was the pasta?
the first one I had, well, that's not true. The first night when I had the seafood one, that was good. And then the second one I had, I got a carbonara, and they had really like nothing in it. It was just like kind of cheese type of base to the sauce, and it was thick, and my body's not really for that. And there was like pieces of bacon in it, but there wasn't any other meat or anything. I wasn't a fan of that night. That was like a few nights in Roma, but yeah, I mean that was okay. That was probably the meal that I was like, eh. But I will say that
Did you get like a regular red sauce anywhere?
I got meatballs, and so there was red sauce on that. So that was unique. That was unique. It wasn't as robust. It was not bad, not bad at all. But I think it's the margarita. That was the one that took the cake by far. Definitely from Social Pizza. And then I would say the seafood in Totora, literally right on the water. You cross the street and you go to this place. It was called Bar Alex. And what did we get there? We got calamari for those that say it in the English way. But calamad, that was incredible. And there's a cool thing that they do. They almost make their calamad look like it has horns like a bull. Because calamad usually comes, it's squid, but it usually comes in fried rings. And these fried rings had these like things coming off of it, almost these like horns down coming off of it. So it almost looked like a bull. It was really cool how they did, or a buffalo, I should say. It was cool how they did that. And so that calamad was the best. And then we got this like lemon pasta. Like it was like this lemon lighter base pasta that had clams and whatever in it. That was the best pasta and the best calamad that I've ever had was in Totora. Napoli, the best margarita pizza. Rome, what did I have in Roma? That was the best. Roma, what did I have? We had so many different things in Rome. Trying to think what my favorite meal was. Oh, the seafood there. They had sea bass. Sea bass can be like jiggly, jello-y, clear. I don't know what they did to this sea bass, but Jesus blessed it. It came down from heaven. So that seafood was really good. That sea bass specifically was fantastic. And then the Isle of Capri was the octopus pizza and the coconut. They do a lot of like these delight things. So they have real fruit and they put this like ice cream, like Italian ice cream in it. And so people had the lemon one everywhere. Inside of the lemon, eating out of that one. I got a coconut one. Oh my gosh. Inside of a coconut with a little piece of chocolate. That was incredible in the Isle of Capri. So yeah, I mean the food was beyond. I mean, we would have breakfast in Rome in the morning. We had breakfast at the hotel and they had fresh meat, fresh cheese. They had this juice that you can get over there, and the company is Bravo. It's a multi-fruit, multi-vitamin juice. That juice, I could put it in my veins and have it every day. Like that, I got to look it up and see if I can order it. That Bravo, that multivitamin, multi-fruit juice was so good.
I would assume you could probably order it from there.
That was good. The chocolate croissant from there was really good. So like our breakfast in our hotel, the breakfast was great. And then the breakfast in Napoli in the hotel, I ate so much kiwi. Oh my goodness. And they had this pie in the morning. It was a fruit pie, mixed berry pie. And it was so good that I would take a piece, put it in a napkin, put it in the refrigerator for later. And then the last day we were in Napoli, I literally went to breakfast, ate with my dad, went upstairs, got our luggage, brought it downstairs, and went out and did some shopping for my mom. And I took a piece of pie with me and I ate it in the streets of Napoli. Like it was,
Oh my
it
goodness.
was because it's thin and it was together. I mean, it wasn't like gross, and it was so. Yeah, I mean, I do everything.
So did you
I don't
take
know.
like trains between all the different stops, or did you fly?
So we took a fast train from Roma to Napoli, from Napoli back to Roma, and then we took a regular train from Napoli to Tortora, and then we took a boat from Napoli to the Isle of Capri because that's the only way you can get there. And so, yeah, but we did the fast train, and when you're on the fast train, it's crazy because I always thought when I heard about these things a few years back, I thought like when you're on here, do you get nauseous because do you feel like your head's getting pulled back because it's going so fast? You don't feel like you're going fast until you look at a train go by you. That will make you like, oh my goodness, we're going 150 miles an hour. Like from
Did you go see Mount Vesuvius
no,
when you were in Napoli?
no, no. So no, but
Oh.
from Roma to Napoli, it's only like an hour on a fast.
You gotta go see the ancient civilization of Pompeii.
Well, we did see a lot. We went to the Borghese, and that story is crazy too. There was a Pope, a Borghese, and the Pope took advantage of being Pope and like made his family rich while he was Pope, and they bought up all the stuff, and they built this like beautiful place filled with artwork and like did all these things for themselves. And then some of the artwork that they had, they actually stole the artwork. And so that was in there too. By the way, was that where I first felt it? No. No, it was in the Colosseum. So for those of you that know me, you know that my connection with God is the most important connection to me. I'm a person that is very much open to the fact that there is our world and there is this spiritual world, and they're not that far apart. People think that they're like one's way up high and one's way down low. It's more like side to side, and it's more like things can touch in and out. And so I have felt things before, I've seen things before, heard things before. And when I was in the Colosseum, they brought us in the gate, which was considered the loser's gate. And when you came out of the loser's gate, it was because you were either defeated in battle or you literally died. And when we came out of the Colosseum and went through the gate, we stood by this one area coming off the gate, the loser's gate. To the left of it, there was this area that had like the black bars, and you could look down into a pit. The best way I can describe this to you is there is an air that you feel when there's a breeze. And there's a cool air breeze that comes. It's kind of like not totally cold. It's kind of like cool. It's like warm, cool in the moment, and then it goes. And then there's a colder air that sits, and it does not come from nature. Being by the loser's gate and being in front of this specific part was the first place where I felt the presence of something. And there was a cool air breeze, and then there was cold air, like in front of me. So every time I felt any type of cold air, I prayed. And I stumbled upon Castle Sant'Angelo and brought my dad there one of our last days in Rome. I prayed a lot because I felt a lot of those cold air moments. But the first time I felt it was in the Colosseum, coming out of the loser's gate. And it was like cold air on my forehead. So everything about the experience and just there's ruins everywhere. When you come out of the train
Oh, I'm
station,
sure.
there's ruins. When you're driving through, like you see these buildings, there are buildings built around ruins. There's new buildings built around old buildings all over Rome, all over Napoli. And I mean, there's castles in Maddalone, there's in Tortora, there's castle pieces there too. There's ruins everywhere in Italy that we were. And it's so many places look like the setting of a movie. I'm pausing throughout the show today because I'm so excited that I feel like I can't breathe, and then at the same time I'm trying to find the perfect words to say that I walked into a place where I felt like if nobody said anything to me, I could just feel it. And like Palatine Hill and the Roman Forum that's right by the Colosseum. Palatine Hill, I was like, I don't know what to expect. Is it just going to be a hill, whatever? Oh my god. You're literally walking through palaces that have just, over time, there's pieces. And there's like these incredible floors that are wavy now. That like, you look at the floor of this palace that was probably the center of the room, and now it's like the left side's down, the right side's up. It's grooved like crazy. I mean, you're walking through. I mean, you can be walking down the street in Rome going to work, going to get a slice of pizza, and you're going through history. You're walking through the middle of it, and it just hits you. Like there's these chariots that have horses in the front and angels behind them, and like the chariots are like taking the angels, like the angels are at the reins of the chariots, and they're just there. I mean, you walk down the road, there's just something there. You go by the train station, there's just something like across the street. You know, you're going to the Vatican and you see something. It's just I don't know how people don't wake up in the morning and just fall in love with Italy every day. And I asked like the taxi driver, I said, have you ever been to Castle Sant'Angelo? He's like, I've never been inside. And I'm like, how do you live here? And you've never experienced it. And I experienced it. Like I got down into one of the things, like I put myself on the ground, put my legs out, and like got into one of the areas. You could see where they protected it from. Yeah, I did videos, and I'm going to be airing another one where like I walk up to this thing, and like the window's so small, and I walk up to it, and then I put my camera through the window so you can actually like, you see this tiny, 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 and then you see this world view. It's dude, everything about it, everything about the architecture and the design and the artwork and the attention to detail. And I mean, they got to be looking down from heaven going, it's still beautiful. The castles are still beautiful. The monuments are still beautiful. And you're driving down the street, walking down the street, and all of a sudden there's just a bunch of lions, just a bunch of these lions in a square, beautiful lions to take pictures with. And I mean, you're surrounded by incredible designs and purposeful artwork, and it's held up, and it's just like, it's just all around you. Like, I don't know how people with a window at work get anything done in Italy. I really don't.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's gotta be like, you look out the window, you see everything happening outside, you smell the fresh Italian air and all the great food that you could probably smell, and it's just like, you just think to yourself, is this heaven? And then you just hear a little Kevin Costner voice going, no, this is Italy. Um, but I mean, that's a place that I would have wanted to go for a long time. I definitely would love to at some point. I'm not as concerned about food as I was when I went to Dublin and France and everything. I did eat. I ate a lot of hamburgers, but I did eat. So Italy, at least I know food will be not an issue, because I can eat pasta and I can eat pizza all day. So that'll be, that would be good. But you haven't said much about the Coliseum yet.
Yeah, so being a broadcaster and going to arenas and going to stadiums, I shot video going in of my first walk in. I shot video of looking around. I shot video from different angles, different areas, upstairs, downstairs. I love the Dome. And I think we're really spoiled to have it in my hometown. And I love Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I love the Cotton Bowl, the AT&T Stadium. And I mean, and I love Madison Square Garden. I've been to a lot. I've been spoiled. Barclays. But I will say to you, the Amway Center in Orlando, I love the Amway Center. Well, now I think it's the Kia Center. The Coliseum, I would pay to see an event in there. Now, I don't want to see people fighting each other to death, but I would pay to see an event there. And what they did with the Coliseum is they took out the ground, they took out the floor, so you can look into everything that was backstage, so to speak. And so you're seeing and back in the day they had special effects. So back in the day in Rome, because think about it, the Roman Empire, like, they did a lot of things. They're called like the first worldwide network because of the roads that they built and all the stuff that they did. And they, at one point, they stemmed from like Northern Europe to Africa. And so when you're looking at
it was huge.
when you're looking at the Colosseum, and now you could see underneath it, you're seeing where people walked. You're seeing where were the animals, where were the fighters. And they had 4 elevators. And so when they would bring people up, they would have, because keep in mind, what I'm looking into was
Like
covered.
actual elevators?
Yeah, so they had these elevators, and they would bring, so like if there was a fighter, the fighter wouldn't just walk in. They would bring the fighter up this elevator, and so they would just like appear. They would appear from the ground on the floor. The lion would appear.
How the hell did that work in the 1000 BC?
You got pulley system, you got rope, you got a bunch of things that you got to do.
They probably had slaves that were just paid, or that were just pulling the elevator to work.
Well, and so the thing is, they actually had they had technical people. They had people like you would have under a stage now. They had technical people, but these people were working in the dark. They were working in the dark. They were smelling blood all day. They were smelling sweat all day because they were beneath everyone.
Were they smelling tears too?
Probably blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah. So, but no, they were literally smelling all of this stuff, just heat all day long, and they're underneath and they're doing this. They're doing these things. They're bringing like smoke up. So you have to think about going back to the Colosseum and the Roman Empire and seeing these characters that are fighting just appear out of nowhere, appear from the ground up, like we would see appear at a concert today. And they had smoke, and we would have smoke today. And so you can look into that area. So I did a lot with that. And then I just shot panoramics and went up there and did videos. I have seen many stadiums and arenas, like I said. I've never seen a place like the Coliseum. And I've been drawn to it for a long time. Like whenever I saw any pictures of Italy, the Coliseum was the thing that always like hooked me. It was always the thing that I'm like, man, I gotta go. So we got in on Thursday, and then we had 3 full days of stuff. Friday we did the Vatican and the Sistine Chapel. Saturday we did the Borghese Galleria, and then in the gardens, and then Sunday we did the Coliseum. I could not wait. And our tour guide actually left us at the Coliseum. I had stayed upstairs a little bit longer, and I was shooting video. She left my dad and I. She did not stop to try and find us, as far as we know. And so for like an hour and a half, we could not find her. So we went to Palatine Hill by ourselves. We went to the Roman Forum by ourselves, and we experienced all of that on our own. I just didn't want to leave the Colosseum. And the coolest thing was when they brought us back in to when we came from Napoli to Roma for the last day. We didn't ask the cab driver to do this. The taxi driver brought us by the Colosseum, and not knowing if we had been there, he literally brought us right up to it, around one side and then around the other.
That's cool.
And so I got to see the Colosseum again, and I put this picture up, and like I said, all of our pictures are on social media. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you this one, because I put this one up of the Colosseum, again, God being who God is. If you look closely at this picture, you can see the Colosseum. This is a picture that I took, and you can see a halo from heaven above the Colosseum.
Oh yeah. Very subtle, but it's there.
So it's almost like a thing from above saying, and then I had another picture of it. But that was how close he got us when we were driving by. But I mean, the Colosseum by far, above and away. Like, I could have spent the whole week at the Colosseum without any doubt in my mind. I absolutely love that experience, and wouldn't change that experience for the world. I mean, any of them, but the Colosseum was just so unique and so special. And like I said, to somebody who has been very blessed to be in a lot of arenas, that just like took a huge place in my trip and in my heart. I'm looking through this right now. So yeah, so you can see. I mean,
that's cool.
Just the hallways even of the Colosseum. And let me see. This is the first picture that I took of the Colosseum with the sun. That was my initial shot. And then I did a panoramic thing of it. Whoops. Where's this going? But let me see if I could go to the panoramic one. Just looking at how, like, when you're inside of it. And our tour guide was like, does it look a little small to you? And there was a bunch of people like, yeah. And I was like, in what world does this thing look small? This was my moment walking into the Colosseum for the first time.
That's amazing.
And just getting to experience it. There's Pops in the Colosseum. But yeah, I mean, I've seen other people take pictures. I mean, you just look at this larger than life thing behind us.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people take photos of it. This is what it looks like. This was covered back in the old times of the Colosseum. So that's the underground of the Colosseum. And so, like, this is you seeing where the special effects came from, where the fighters came from, where they walked through, and all of that. And then I did one of, like, just being up top.
Yeah, and seeing everything inside there, yeah.
And showing that, and then you see the center area. Yeah, the Colosseum is far and away. Like, it's just like that picture. So this part was the floor, and so that's all gone, so you can see it. So you can see what's inside of it. But yeah, I think I have a piece where it looks like it was sun-kissed. Let's see if I have that one. Where's my...
So I just looked it up because I was curious and I didn't know when it actually was built. It says it was completed in the year 80 AD.
Yeah, it took 8 years to completely finish.
Yes, it did.
It was like 5 years and then
nearly 2,000 years old. 1,945 years old.
Yeah. Yep.
That is interesting.
Well,
that place had to be so cool.
Well, that's Rome. I mean, that's Rome. That's
I mean,
Italy.
It's
like this old...
I think a lot of that is like, that's Europe in general. Maybe like Italy more specifically because of the Roman Empire, and there's stuff that is still around from maybe not the peak of the Roman era, but the Roman Empire, but different times in the Roman Empire near the end of it. But I felt that when I was in France, when I was in the Netherlands, when I was in Ireland, like you can you can really see how old some of this stuff is, and it really takes you back in time,
Yeah.
right? Because the first place we went when we got to Dublin was the oldest pub in Dublin, and it was founded in the 1200s. The place is 800 years old, and it's still here.
Yeah.
The Colosseum's almost 2,000 years old, and it's still there. There's things that I guarantee, like I know there's things in Italy that are that old. Like I know there were things in Amsterdam and Dublin and where we were in France that are that old. I think the castle that we stayed at was built in like, I don't know, 1600 or something. Like it's old. The place was incredible. So like I get it. Like the European experience, like we don't feel that in the States. Even when you go to like St. Augustine, my aunt and uncle took me there when I was down there back in January. St. Augustine, I believe, is one of the older settlements in the States.
It's the oldest.
I think it's the oldest.
It's the oldest. It's the oldest city in the nation. Like,
yeah,
of the original. Yeah, St. Augustine and the Fountain of Youth is considered to be there. But yeah, St. Augustine is the oldest, like civilization establishment in America.
Yeah, exactly. And you see things there, and it's 200 years old, 150 years old. It's like, all right, this is pretty cool. Then you go to Dublin. Then you go to Rome. The restaurant we went to, opened in 1200 A.D. The Colosseum, nearly 2,000 years old.
Well, the Roman Forum.
The Roman Empire is one of the most powerful empires ever. I mean, they literally killed Jesus.
Well,
that
here's
whole situation happened in the Roman Empire at the height of the Roman Empire.
Well, here's the crazy thing: the Roman Forum, which is right by the Colosseum, and my dad and I went there. The Roman Forum, to speak to your connection to Jesus Christ, the Roman Forum is over 2,500 years old. It is from 7th century BC, which is before Christ. So the Roman Forum that is still standing, pieces of it, and you can see like the pillars that they had, like pieces of the pillars and whatnot. The Roman Forum, over 2,500 years old, and was erected before Jesus was born.
Yeah. I mean, think of going to Egypt and seeing the Great Pyramids. The pyramids were built 5,000 years ago. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Just to imagine that there's still something standing that was built 3,000 years just before Jesus was born.
Right. And now they make computers and they tell us that after 3 years we have to get a new one. So.
Yeah. It's insane. Like anybody who hasn't been to Europe, and it doesn't matter where you go in Europe, whether you go to the UK or you go to France or you go to Ireland or you go to Germany or wherever, or Austria or whatever, or wherever, or Spain.
Yeah.
You are going to see historical places and artifacts that have been around a lot longer than the United States has been around.
Yeah.
Right? I think us in the US, we don't appreciate that because we don't see it ever. Right? Like a historic landmark to us is something that was built in the 1800s. Right? Like
a historic landmark to us
it's still old.
A historic landmark to us is Madison Square Garden. Like, what I mean?
Yeah. The Mecca. But still, like, or Fenway Park, which was built in 1912 for a sports reference. Soldier Field, which is in the 20s.
Statue of Liberty, which we did not build, but
that is correct. Where was that? What country gave us that?
It was a gift from France, and I said for what France did is France told us they bought us a ring, but what they really bought us was one of them cheap rings because the ring turned green. Keep in mind, like, because when like gold is fake, it'll turn your finger green. So, or silver, that wonderful gift from France, the Statue of Liberty, that came to us silver and turned green. So to people that look at the Statue of
Really?
Liberty, they're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And it's like, yeah, well, it was different back then. But yes, France did give us the Statue of Liberty.
I genuinely didn't know that.
Oh yeah, because
That
I
it
tell
was,
people
that
all
it
the
was
time,
originally
I'm like,
silver.
Yeah, I said France bought us a cheap ring, is what I said. Not that
look.
the Statue of Liberty is cheap, but that the quality of what they bought was not for it to sustain itself. Keep in mind, like the Epcot ball, that used to be gold, and it used to be complete, like it was just a sphere. It didn't have jagged pieces to it, because if you look at the Epcot ball, there's points all over it. When it was an original gold,
But it looks intentional, though.
well, but if you look,
You
back,
are ruining my childhood, dude.
listen. So the Epcot ball was a gold sphere, and it was just like, it was flat. It was like I mean, obviously it was a round, but what I'm saying is the surface was flat, and that curved surface, there was no jagged pieces on it. Allegedly, the Epcot ball being gold and not having any jagged pieces and just having sun reflect off of it, it was burning people while they were going by it, which is why the Epcot ball is now a different color and now it has jagged pieces.
Okay, that makes sense. I thought you were trying to say that it completely changed on its own.
No.
But I was actually just near the Statue of Liberty on Thursday. I had to go take something over to Liberty National Golf Club in Jersey City. But you can see the Statue of Liberty, you can see the skyline, everything from there, and it's absolutely beautiful. They have a LPGA Tour event going on there this week, the Mizuho Open, I think it is what it is. But I had something to drop off with them, but the Statue of Liberty's right there. But that's like one of the older things in America that we have to, appreciate. You can go to like Colonial Williamsburg and places like that or Jamestown, where you'll get to see stuff from like the 1600s pre-US.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see the types of things that you do in Europe or Northern Africa, where you're looking at historic places that were built thousands of years ago, and they're still here for us to go and visit. Mr. Beast just did a video where he got to tour the pyramids in Egypt, which if you haven't seen that video, it's actually kind of cool to see the inside of the pyramids. And the fact that they were able to build those things, their architecture 5,000 years ago, is honestly crazy, because you think about that and you're just like, these things were so far ahead of their time. I mean, the Great Pyramids at Giza were the tallest buildings in the world, quite literally, until the 1800s.
Yeah.
For 4,000 years, 5,000 years, they were the tallest man-made structures in the world. And it was how they were built back then, the architecture that went into it was so advanced for the time.
Yeah.
You would never think that they could do something like that today. Well, they could build something like that today, but if we were around back then, there's no way. It was built by hand.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, like, my dad and I were talking about that. You see the Colosseum, and
Totally built by hand.
and you're thinking, how did they measure it? How they didn't have like retractable measuring tape. How did they build up? How did they create?
They
these
don't have.
platforms?
They
How
didn't
did
have cranes.
Right. So I mean,
They
it's
didn't have
like
tape measures.
thinking about all of the construction things. They're not out there with a cement truck that's driving up and pouring cement. Like there was no
Quickcrete back then.
So you're not looking at, I mean,
Literally.
you're looking at carriages with horses, and so you have horses pulling things, you have people moving things. And so when you see the Colosseum and you see how old it is, and then you think this was built without any modern technology. And then you look at the Trevi Fountain and you look at the Sistine Chapel. I mean, everything that you're going through and looking at that I've
How
seen.
did Michelangelo paint the ceiling?
Right, in Italy.
That's what I want to know.
I mean, in the amount of time, and by the way, that was all commission work. You don't think about that. So when I go to New York Comic Con and I go up to an artist and I say, "Hey, can you draw me the Scarlet Spider?" And they say, "Yeah, I'll do you a commission of their face." A commission is them taking a character and then creating something of that character for me. You don't think, I never thought about this. The Sistine Chapel is all commission work. It's them going to an artist and saying, "Can you draw me Jesus coming out of the tomb? Can you draw me this part of the Bible?" And so it's all commissions. It's essentially like going into a place with a bunch of comic book artists have their stuff on the wall. Like, that's what I mean. It's commissioned work. And to think that, because when you think of the Sistine Chapel and you just look at its beauty, you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible. You know, how did Michelangelo come up with this?" And da 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 da. It's commission work. Somebody sat with him and said, "I want you to draw the creation of man." And then Michelangelo takes his thought process, what's been given, what he knows, the history of it, and then he creates it. And to think that this is all commissioned work by artists, that is crazy in and of itself, to just have that conversation of, these were artists back in the day. Like we have artists now, these were artists back in the day saying, "Hey, we think you're one of the best artists of the time. Can you draw this?" And you hear about some of these artists that one of the artists that we went through in the Borghese killed someone, like on his road. He literally killed somebody. And so, I mean, you're seeing all this artwork and you're seeing these different tones. And then his artwork was like dark, but the longer that he did his artwork, the longer he was around, the darker it got. The more shadows there were, the less light there was in his pictures. And I mean, we see these things that we think we know, and then you hear the history behind it, and you're like, this is crazy. Somebody literally went up to Michelangelo and said, "You are the best artist of the time. Can you draw this for me? Can you do a commission of Jesus Christ? Can you do a commission of the Last Judgment? Can you bring this to life? Can you bring this to, can you put this on the ceiling?" And I mean, and the amount of money that they got back then, and two, the amount of money that they got back then was substantial. When you think about back in the day, people got nothing. They got like in the millions in euros, the amount of money that some of these wonderful artists got to do these jobs. By the way, Vatican, the actual city itself, became an independent state in 1929. So it's only 96 years old as an independent state. But the Vatican's history goes back to St. Peter's tomb, the one that Jesus gave the keys to the church to, essentially. "Upon this rock you will build my church." That's 4th century AD. So just go back and think about that. 4th century AD. So we're in AD right now, right? 2026 or 2025, pardon me.
2020, don't you be going ahead of me, man.
So
you're making me closer to 30.
So 2025, we're in AD right now. So 2021 years ago, "Upon this rock you will build my church." 2021 years ago, St. Peter, like over 2,000 years ago. And then the Vatican became a state it became its own like sovereignty place within Italy in 1929, which doesn't seem that too far ago.
It's less than 100 years ago.
But I mean, the Spanish Steps that were right by where we were staying, they were built about 300 years ago. So that, I mean, and so they're not that old, but they're pristine, they're beautiful, they're incredible. Our hotel was named after the steps. So, I mean, it's everything. Like the experience of walking through Rome, and like I said, just going on all those tours, and then the next day my dad like, "What do you want to do?" And then I found Castle Sant'Angelo, which is the castle of the Holy Angel, and it's a castle that was built, and it has Saint Michael the Archangel on the top, and so his wings, and he's looking down, and he has a spear, and there's this thing about how Saint Michael the Archangel ended a plague that was in Rome. So they built this for him, and it was a castle that was built, and it was run by a bunch of different elements of history. At one time, it was used as a prison. So again, a place where I felt spirits. It was used as a prison. And I mean, that's a place that's off the beaten path. And that was arguably one of the most beautiful things that I saw. And one of my best experiences in Italy was one of the ones that we didn't pay to go to. I mean, you have to pay when you get in, but we didn't do like a tour of it. We just went. And so that was really, really, really cool. I mean, everything. And by the way, I always tell people, again, God comes to you in ways that he knows you'll see. Well, God came to me in a way I talk about on the show all the time. And I will address how many crazy moments God showed up in my life right after this inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Head to GG Cards and Breaks Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5 to find hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, and so much more, including Pokemon, Disney, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Magic the Gathering, as well as Garbage Pail Kids, AEW. You never know what you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks. It keeps your big kid spirit alive. So no matter what your age is, GG Cards and Breaks is a place to get close to your team, close to your favorite player, and close to those things that you love in the fantasy world and your favorite characters. Head to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, and you'll meet your favorite characters, led by Josh and Anthony at GG Cards and Breaks, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, got a few more minutes here with Murph. It is Italy week. You'll see that flag all week long on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and every single broadcast that we have here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this week will feature someone who has Italian blood. So Brendan joining me today, Gina Costelli tomorrow, T. Morabito on Wednesday, Papa Joe on Thursday, Bob Casulo on Friday. So not only is it Italy week where I get to talk about my trip throughout the week, just getting back into the Great Lakes Honda City studios, but I'm also joined by fellow card-carrying Italians. Murph, final question, thought, moment that you would like me to share?
Well, for those of you that don't realize that I have Italian in my blood, I do on my mom's side. Not a lot, but there is Italian in there. Hence why I have a distinct love for Italian food. Um, but yeah, what I want to know, because I remember dreading having to get on the plane to go home.
Yeah.
What was that like the morning leading up? Obviously, this was the most recent thing, so this was yesterday.
Yeah.
The morning leading up to having to fly home, like, were you dreading that flight home as much as I was?
It was not that.
Just because, mostly because you wanted to stay.
Yeah. So I think, when I go back and I think about the first night and then I go to yesterday, we spent so much time there, my dad and I, and we did so much together. And then when you got to the airport, it felt like you had just been there. And it almost felt like it just happened. I will say going through customs and passport control was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And that was fun. I did get randomly checked right before getting on the plane. So that was fun. And I mean, it was really quick though. It was like 2 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I think yesterday getting up, being at the hotel, and then going to the airport, going into the airport, going through everything, and then going upstairs. I think it hit me when we had the international breakfast, and it was like nothing. It was just kind of bland, whatever food. I think once we got into the actual airport, and I knew we were getting on the plane, and it was funny. We landed in Atlanta. And we were going up the escalator, and I looked at my dad. I go, "Why is everybody speaking English right now?" So, like, I think that was a part for me.
You got so used to hearing Italian.
Well,
and
that's the thing is, so when I was in my family's home of Maddaloni, Italy, which is right outside of Napoli, I went into an ice cream shop. We were trying to find a place that was open. We were trying to get some direction, and we went into a place called Talismano 2. There's 2 of them. And we went to Talismano, and the guy was super nice. I ended up speaking 4 languages in my conversation with him. We spoke English, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. And I asked my dad, I said, well, how do you think how's my Italian? He's like, you've been doing pretty well. I mean, we were able to get through places. I picked up on certain things and, would say them and whatnot. And I would have conversations with people and try to understand them. He'd walk away, and he's like, you didn't understand a word that guy said. I'm like, no. He said to go to the left. He said after you go left, you go right. He said it's really steep. And what that gentleman was talking about was the pilgrimage that it felt like that I took up the mountain in Maddaloni. And I'm going to talk about this throughout the week, and there's going to be different things that I'll say and remember and whatnot. But I will end today's broadcast starting off Italy a week with this, Murph. I never climbed a mountain in my life. Now I've gone up like different things and whatnot. I have climbed things in my life, but I have never climbed a mountain. And when you're in Maddaloni, you're on the ground and you see these mountains coming in. There's mountains all over Italy. It's insane. And there's houses built in them. Tortora, beautiful. So in Maddaloni, there's this whole, like, here's where my family is in this town, this place, right? You start walking up the street, and you're walking up toward this castle. And you get to a certain point, and you say, okay, where do you go? So we're already starting to walk up this mountain. Then we get to a certain point, we go up the stairs. You go around this guy's house, and you go around the stairs here, and then all of a sudden there's a cross. Well, on the cross, there's a picture of Jesus. And I realize this is the Stations of the Cross. So my dad's got an injured leg. My dad's like, okay, I'm not going to go any higher up. We thought it was just a few more steps. It ends up being this journey. As I'm walking up this mountain that's in honor of St. Michael the Archangel, and it's also the mountain, it's got a connection to St. Maria. So it's got that and all those pieces. It's got this beautiful tribute to St. Michael the Archangel and to Maria. And as you're going up this mountain, there's a path that's by rock. And it has grass grown over it and things grown over it, but you could see where the path is. As you're going up the mountain, you're doing the Stations of the Cross. You are literally walking a simulation of Jesus's path to his death and eventual resurrection. And as you walk up the mountain, it gets steeper, and the path gets narrow. And as soon as I saw the path shrink, because there's these big stairs on the way up, and then it gets really narrow and it's just rock. It's just rock, and you're following this path. It reminded me of the statement, narrow is the path to heaven. And the closer that you get to Jesus, the more narrow that the path gets. Because they always talk about, those that actually are going to make it to heaven, it's a narrow path. And so you're walking up this thing and you're stopping at the stations, and I'm putting my bag down because I had a bag that I carried, and I'm sweating. And I don't have a cross, and I don't have thorns on my head, and I wasn't beaten, and I didn't have rocks thrown at me, and I wasn't spit at, and I wasn't sworn at, and I wasn't whipped. I'm literally carrying a bag. And I'm stopping. I'm stopping because as I'm going up the mountain, I'm looking at where my family grew up. And then I'm going higher up and I'm looking at that view. And I'm going higher up and I'm looking at that view. And you don't hear anybody. And then you see a couple people come down the mountain. And then it's silent again. And then you hear music playing because there's a guy off with his bag on a tree and he's sitting. And then it's silent again. And you keep looking and you keep saying to yourself, okay, this has got to be the last cross. This has got to be the last station. And then you keep going up a steeper mountain and a steeper mountain. And you keep looking at a cross, and then there's another cross. And then all of a sudden, you get to the top. And it is this beautiful church. There's a church inside. There's a church outside. And there's all these people up there. And you have no idea how these people got up there. And there's not a lot, Murph. There's a few. So on the path up, narrow is the path to heaven. When you get to the top, I count 20 people, 13 people. There's a dog. There's people in their 80s. There's kids. And it asks you to be silent. So when I shot my video of getting to the top of the mountain, I didn't shoot the video until I went off of that area and went down the path, because it asked you to be silent in honoring the land. My dad called me and said, you don't need to go to the top. You went far enough. Come back down. We got to get our train. There was no way I was going to go far enough or just enough or be happy I did it. Something inside of me said to me, if you do not walk this path with Jesus and you do not finish this at his cross, you will dream about this and it will haunt you until you come back to Italy and you come back to this mountain and you finish it. There was no way I wasn't going to finish it. I have never climbed a mountain in my life, and the first mountain that I climbed is a mountain that overlooks where my family originated from. Doing the Stations of the Cross to Jesus. And now I hit you with this. On the path up the mountain, the closer I got, who guided me up the mountain? Butterflies. A butterfly would come onto the path, get in front of me, guide me to a certain portion, and then another butterfly would take its place. When I went down the mountain, the butterflies guided me down the mountain. They say that butterflies are supposed to be ancestors, supposed to be loved ones. There's a purity to that. There's a rebirth to that. What happened to the caterpillar? The caterpillar goes in the cocoon. We thought the cocoon died. We thought the caterpillar died in the cocoon. Jesus goes in the tomb. We thought that Jesus died. Jesus comes out risen from the dead. The caterpillar comes out as a butterfly risen from the dead. And the butterflies are the things that guided me up the path.
Well, I'm sure you had butterflies going up there too.
I prayed. I asked God for strength. I said, I don't know how you did this, but I will do this with you. God, give me your strength. And every time I asked him for my strength, I felt it. At one point, when I was almost to the top of the mountain, I took off and ran. That was all God. Every time I asked for strength, as soon as I said the word strength, he put it in my chest. And when I got to the top, I got down on my knees and I prayed. And I left a lot of things on that mountain. At his cross, where he died. Not to be reborn, but to die on that cross with him. And the rebirth of Jesus is my rebirth at the top of that mountain and what I took down that mountain. I left fear, worry, anxiety, doubt, questioning, double standard thought, like the thought of why this, why that. I left my fears, my worries, my doubts, my negativity, my drama, my pain, my past, my sin. I said, God, when I am leaving with you on this mountain is not my past and my present. It is my past, my present, and my future. I am leaving here with you any future negativity, any future fear, any future thought that goes against you. I left that mountain taking off of me everything that's controlled me my whole life. I left that at his cross, at his feet, and he guided me down the mountain. That moment, I will always remind myself of any moment, sin, strife, worry, questioning, doubt, if I'm around somebody that is treating me poorly, the reminder that I left all of that on that mountain. Every time I go to pick it up, I have to remember that I put it there, not to be taken up again. Jesus left his cross, and at the top of that mountain, I left mine. And to do that and look out from the end of the Stations of the Cross and to have the view of my family's heritage be at the top of that mountain, looking out over all of Mataloni. There were things that I said to myself, sweat that came off of my head, and moments with God that will stay with me. And there was something that I was taught years ago, and I was praying to God, and I was just talking, and I said it, and then I said the thing, and then I started crying. You can climb your mountains. You can overcome your mountains. And I would implore you, figuratively or literally, that when you decide to climb it, you do it with God, because he will help you finish it. He's the only one that can. And when you have finished it, leave your pain, leave the world's expectation of you, leave everything that you can't control at the top of that mountain. And when you come down it, live a better life. I'm not perfect. I came down that mountain, and there are pieces where I said, hey, you left that up there. Why are you talking about it? You left it up there. Why'd you do that? But I asked Jesus this morning, I asked God this morning to forgive me and to remember what I left on that mountain in Mataloni. It'll stay there. And now it's the time for the rest of my life. So if I can give anybody advice, walk with God, struggle with God, go through adversity with God, sweat with God, cry with God, and let the things that are holding you down die with God. And then just as he came out of that tomb, come out of these things reborn, better, and hold yourself accountable to a better life. I can't climb a mountain every day, but I sure as heck can remember what I promised Jesus when I climbed that mountain. And I will take that with me and carry that with me for the rest of my life. And I will not go back to where I was. So that, I needed that mountain, Murph. And of all mountains, it was a mountain that had the Stations of the Cross, which I was not prepared for. And it overlooked my family, which I was not prepared for. What do they always say? You can make plans. And what does it say? Man chooses his plans, God guides his steps. I made a plan to go up to see this castle. And God was like, you don't know how far it is. You don't know that Jesus is going to meet you. You don't know that you're going to reenact the Stations of the Cross. You don't know what it's going to look like. And you don't know that it's going to be in your family's heritage home across the world. I had a plan. He guided my steps.
That's awesome. Yeah, dude, that's I can't even imagine that. I would love to experience it for myself at some point, but it sounds like you had a lot of amazing things to take away from the trip, and kind of, much like what I had last year when I got back from Europe, all the amazing things that you get to see, and the different it's different, obviously it's a different culture. It makes you appreciate what we have, but it also makes you kind of reflect on different things in, at home, abroad, whatever the case may be. So it's safe to say I already wanted to go to Italy. Talking to you about this has made me want to go there again. Or made me want to go there even more, I should say.
Well, yeah, and I mean, your trip to Ireland and to Amsterdam and everything that you did, that pushed me even more hearing that from you. And it was one of the things I said to my dad. I was like, Murph's been over here before I got over here. And to keep that promise with my father and to do that meant a lot to me. And my dad was under the weather at times. His legs were hurting at times. Never changed his plans. There's nothing we didn't see. There's nothing we didn't go to. So I want to commend my dad for that. I want to commend God for giving us the strength. And I mean, yeah. That mountain, I will never let that mountain not mean something. And the people that know the inner workings of my story, to even have it connected to a mountain serves a greater purpose. So, we ran the Rocky Steps together. I did the Spanish Steps with my dad. And I climbed a mountain with Jesus.
I think that kind of far surpasses anything that we did.
But, I mean, and when I say I climbed a mountain with Jesus, I'm not being facetious. I'm not.
No, you literally did.
I climbed a mountain with him. And I mean, there's no word that can describe the strength of Jesus Christ and what he did. And that he did all of that, and none of it was for himself. And yeah, I mean, to see the stations on the way, it could not have been more fitting. My kidneys, I could feel my kidneys, I could feel my back, my breathing, I could feel all of that. And then, like I said, right when I was about close to the top, I just took off and ran. Like I was coming home. So, you got to let parts of your life change your life. And there's never a bad time to get better. Mental health is important. Emotional health is important. Physical health is important. Spiritual health is important. Relationship health is important. And you get to decide who you are. It's the only thing you get to decide in your life. It's the only thing. You have no control over anything else. Well, I have control over my kids. Yeah, when you're raising them, you have to feed them and do this and that. But ultimately, they're going to become who they want to become. The only thing you have control of in your life is you. And I was at a state of my life where I felt like I was being controlled by the emotions of other people, by the words and the actions of other people. And I climbed that mountain and I left it there. I left it there. And now, as I continue to climb mountains through my life, figuratively, literally, I have, at 39 years old, realized, I said this to my dad, I go, you know, Dad, I'm 39 years old, which means I've had 6 more years on this planet, than Jesus, which means I've had 6 more years of thoughts and energy and emotion. And it means I've had 6 more years to choose what I think about, choose what I put my energy in. And you know what, Dad? I've wasted a lot of it. I'm 6 years older than Jesus was when Jesus died. And how much of that time have I wasted on other people's thoughts, opinions, words, actions, motives? No more. I now fix my eyes on the Lord. He's always been in my life, but I am now fixed. And he saved me again. And that was one of the, I was on top of the world. That mountain, like you're up in the clouds. I mean, that's you. We were above other mountains. So all I did was look at mountains in Italy, and then I climbed one. And now a mountain will never look the same to me again.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob Beretta told me to climb a mountain. I did, but I didn't expect
You picked the right one, that's for sure.
I definitely didn't expect to. No, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. So with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we have a week full of Italy talk, Italy trip with Italians every day. And I just found out another Italian's getting added to the show this morning. So shout out to that too. So with that being said, Murph, thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for being here with me every Monday. Thank you for being excited to be here. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this morning. I felt the excitement coming from you while I was on the trip. And when you have people in your life outside of yourself that want you to win and want you to have fun and want you to be happy and want you to enjoy your life, like that's when you know you have real ones. And you were excited to talk about my trip. And so that to me is something that doesn't fall on deaf ears, that you're someone in my life that wants to see me happy, wants to see me enjoy it, wants to see me make the most of it, and you want to hear about it. So I want to say thank you for that.
Of course, my friend. Grazie.
Prego. So with that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, DT and Murph, every Monday. I'll see you on Monday, Murph. Thank you for your support and for your positive words and energy. God bless as always to you and your family, and I look forward to talking with you soon. It's been fun, brother.
Yes, sir, buddy. Glad to have you back stateside.
Yes, sir. Talk with you soon.
Yes, sir.
That coming from Murph here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Go and visit them today, and Monday through Saturday weekly, you can go and see them. And, of course, you can check out their inventory by going to greatlakeshondacity.com. Let them know that DT sent you their way. I greatly appreciate that. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day. You've been with me up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, all around the globe, including in Italy, where we are airing live 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., you get to hear us there. So 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time in Italy is 3 to 5 p.m. in their time in the afternoon. So thank you to all my midday viewers and listeners in Italy, and of course everybody here in Central New York and all around the world. YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. And of course, you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And, of course, from New York to North Carolina, go and see the Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines, North Carolina, 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, open for you with some of the best sandwiches you will eat in your life, now in Southern Pines, North Carolina, down the road from Pinehurst Golf Course. And all of our partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes, Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Avicoli's, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Servomation, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. You'll find the Dolphins weekly on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And you can find it all by going to youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne playlist. The Dolphins are also on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month in the Bobcat Buzz with student athletes, coaches, and administration, as well as alumni. Joining me here where sports meets life. You'll find all of our content by going to youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find the Bearcats, student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining us here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And, of course, you can find it on youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to BinghamtonBearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, it is Italy week, and I will be featuring Italians as guests every day of this week as I chronicle my trip to Italy with my dad that I just got back from literally this morning. God bless you all. No stress. Do your best. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, for Brendan Murphy and myself, Dan Tortora, have a beautiful day. And buongiorno.